This goes together so well. Hey guys, welcome back to Self-Serving Skillet. This week I'm going to make a shepherd's pie to go with those mashed potatoes from last week. Shepherd's pie gets its name from shepherd, sheep. So you want to use lamb if you can get your hands on it. I couldn't this week, although I usually can. So I'm just going to use 80-20 ground beef. You want something with a pretty high fat content because, as you'll see, this is the fat that I'm going to use to cook in. I want fat that tastes like what I'm trying to cook. Right, no oil in the pan. This is going to get plenty greasy. Once we get some of this fat out of this beef, it's the same thing whether you're using beef or lamb or pork. I wouldn't recommend using chicken, probably doesn't have enough fat for this. I'm going to season my ground beef just very lightly. Some of the flavor boosters that I'm going to use later on have some sodium content to them, so I don't want to go crazy right now. I just want to be able to taste what's going on. Once you're not seeing any pink, I'm just going to turn my heat down a little bit and I'm going to transfer to something with a lid. Something that'll let me pour out of it. Because we're not going to leave all the fat in the pan. Some of it's coming in here and I want to use that later. You're never going to see me drain the fat, but you will see me separate it so I can use it in the rest of the dish. This is 2 onions. And I choose to use 2 because onions are both cheap and delicious. And we're just going to let those go in that beef fat for a little bit. The thing is, if you're going to use oil, if you're going to use butter, if you're going to use anything, why not use what's already coming in that package to enhance the flavor of your dish, your complete experience with that product. People talk a lot about using an animal from snout to tail. Well, use the whole thing that you buy from beginning to end. If you have a bunch of bones left over, make a stock. If you have some excess fat, fry some onions in it. When you can start to smell a little bit of sweets coming off of those onions and they start to get a little bit see-through, that's when your garlic goes in. Now, the order in which you put the rest of your ingredients in really depends on what you want to use. I'm using peas and carrots, are pretty traditional shepherd's pie fare, but you can do anything with this. The Dutch have a version of this that's made with apples that they call philosopher's stew. So once I can smell the garlic, I'm going to go in with these carrots because they're going to take a little while to cook. And I don't want them to become soft, but I do want them to cook. And I probably won't go in with my peas until the last minute. One, because they're frozen peas and I don't want to bring down the temperature of my dish right now, and also because they're already how I like them. They're already perfect. I don't want to cook them too much. Once you notice your carrots getting a little bit soft, maybe they're not soft like mushy, but they're starting to get cooked. Maybe they've lost a little bit of their snap. I'm going to start adding some umami boosters. How do I build umami flavor? Well, you just got to use a couple different things. We already have beef in there. We can use Worcestershire sauce. Okay, and that's very nice. You can also use soy sauce. This is one of the things I said, add a little bit of sodium in it, so we maybe don't want to build so much sodium right away. We can use fish sauce. Instead of fish sauce, this is an anchovy base. I'm actually going to use anchovy paste, and I'm going to put it right on the dry skillet. And let that go. Another thing I really like to use, Dijon mustard. Okay, that's very nice. We can also build umami with some spices. Cumin, I think, might clash a little bit with the soy, but what we can use is smoked paprika. I think that's going to go very well with the beef. So we're just going to do enough where we sort of sprinkle it, just give the top of all these vegetables a sprinkle. See how that does. We can also use garlic and onion powder. There's enough garlic and onion in here, but the powders tend to give us a more raw flavor. So there's a lot of cooked garlic in this pan. I'm just going to add a little bit of raw garlic flavor back in. Then just make things a little bit interesting, I like just a pinch of crushed red pepper. This isn't going to be enough to make it spicy. It's just going to be enough to bring out some flavors in here. So we're going to deglaze the pan with a little red wine vinegar. You can use apple cider vinegar, you can use plain white vinegar, you can use lemon juice if you like. And that lets us get all of that flavor off of the pan. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Now at this point, you can add your stock. The stock that I have is not a beef stock. It is a chicken stock that I made last week, or for you guys, a couple weeks ago. And this is going to be very nice in here. It has, see that? That's gelatin right there. That comes from bones. That comes from simmering bones, and actually I only simmered this for maybe a little over an hour. At this point, my beef can go back in. My peas can go in, and make sure that everything is sort of uniform. Let those flavors come together, and then I taste. And you can sort of take this apart, and your liquid doesn't immediately close the gap. You're getting really close. I tasted for seasoning while we were away, but I'm going to do this right here. No, it's great. It's really wonderful. We have the nice sauteed garlic and onions with that garlic powder, which adds a raw snap. We have the smoked paprika, which really complements the beef. And all of these umami boosters that I used before You can't differentiate any of them. They're just there to heighten everything, which is just amazing. So, heat off, and you have a couple of options at this point. So at this point, you could put the potato spread on top and stick it under the broiler. You could also cool the mix, refrigerate it, and then wait a day or two until company comes over and assemble it right then. Boom, under the broiler, meal in no time. What I like to do is separate it into smaller size containers, freeze some, and then when I want a shepherd's pie, this goes in here, my potato over top, broiler, boom, single serving shepherd's pie. I'm gonna link this size cast iron in the description. I always advocate supporting local businesses. So if there's a local business, I'm not talking about one of the big boys that sells something like this, please support that business. But in lieu of a local kitchen store that you love, you can click my link down below and I will earn a small commission. It's a really great way to support the show and help me produce more and better content. Here's what I'm gonna do. Layer of this in the pan. I'm gonna smooth the rest of this out because this is actually going to be one meal that I'm gonna serve to guests. Egg yolk mashed potatoes from last week, right on top. And I'm just going to smash them down with a fork to get sort of uneven ridges on top, and that's what's going to crisp up in that broiler. Parmesan cheese. Straight under that broiler. 2-3 minutes. Here you go. We got the nice crackly top with those potatoes on top, just done. A little Parmesan cheese on top. All right, let's taste it. This goes together so well. I purposely made those potatoes very rich, very creamy. If you remember, I used egg yolks because there was going to be a lot of umami and a decent amount of acid in the shepherd's pie. This goes together really well, and it's very, very satisfying. Lots of garlic, lots of beef flavor because we used that fat from the beef to cook our onions in. This is amazing. Guys, get in the kitchen, make yourself something awesome. I'll see you next week.